Why do undocumented people need to be warned? Why do they need a heads up? Okay, let's talk about this. There are literally so many facets to this, I don't know where to start. Let's start with the most immediate thing that most Americans would worry about. Food, shelter. Were you aware that most of the people who pick our food in this country are undocumented? Many of these people stopped showing up to work this week because they are afraid. They're afraid that they're going to get arrested and deported out of the country or put into some sort of a camp. California is in the middle of one of their biggest citrus harvests right now, and they have hardly anybody to pick this stuff, which means that grocery stores are not going to have these available, and what is available is going to be very expensive. This also goes for harvesting tree nuts. This is a very tedious process, and if we don't have the workers for it, we don't get these foods in our stores. Also, we have a severe shortage of people who can do construction and roofing in this country. Guess who does most of that? Without these people here to do these jobs, a lot of Americans are going to suffer. And also, a lot of the people who are getting arrested and detained aren't even here illegally. They are Native Americans. They just tend to look like people that they are profiling. Although Trump's people are also trying to find a way to deport Native Americans. That's a real thing that's happening now. Mass deportations don't just hurt immigrants, they hurt all Americans. Not only do these raids destroy communities, but it also costs American taxpayers billions a year. Not to mention these raids tear families apart. Could you imagine being in school and having some officers show up there and you get taken out of school in handcuffs? Not only would you be understandably terrified, but you would also be really embarrassed. And a lot of the times these kids were brought here through no fault of their own. They were just babies or little kids when they were brought here. So basically yours and my tax dollars go to ripping families apart. Do you want your tax dollars to go to that? I don't. And once a certain amount of people are deported from this country, especially the millions that he says he wants to get rid of, we're all going to start to suffer here. In addition to farm workers and construction, hotel workers, restaurant workers, these industries are all going to suffer. Did you know that these people actually pay taxes and they get nothing back for these taxes that they are paying? They pay into our sales tax, our Social Security, our Medicare, income tax, and they don't ever see any benefits from this. Without those extra tax dollars, guess who's going to be making up for that shortfall? The people who were born here. Also, I'd like to point out what makes them different from us. We were just lucky enough to be born on this side of the border. If we were born into their conditions, we would probably be doing the exact same thing that they do. If your only choices in life were to work for a drug cartel or to flee to a different country, what do you think you would do in that situation? Most of all, we need to understand that these people are not our enemies. Our enemies are the people who have all the money at the top and are trying to keep us all fighting with each other. Those people are trying to keep us divided by saying, hey, you know those people over there? They don't belong in your club. We need to get them out of here, don't we? Absolutely none of us in this country are struggling because of some poor undocumented workers. Not once in this country has a white person said, well, I guess I have to go to law school now because that Mexican over there stole my melon picking job. So to answer your question, why do they need to be warned? Why do they need a heads up? It's because they're vulnerable and they need our help. It's because if I were in their position, I would like to think somebody would want to help me too. If we lose our empathy and humanity in this country, we might as well get nuked because we are not worth saving.